Hi everyone, welcome to this global hangout conversations on coronavirus, and today we are talking about love, and to do that I'm joined from New Zealand by Henny Ansell.
Hi, I'm Henny. I'm from Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm currently living apart from my boyfriend of 5 years because of the quarantine.
And in the UK we're joined by Serena Coady.
Hello, I'm Serena. I'm an Australian living in London, and I've just recently started living with my boyfriend, who I started dating 2 months ago.
And in the UK as well, Hilda Burke.
Hi, I'm Hilda. I'm a psychotherapist and a couples counsellor and author of the Phone Addiction Workbook.
It's so great to see you all today. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, as we all know, coronavirus, this pandemic and lockdown is literally reshaping every aspect of our lives right now. Love as well, and relationships, whether that means that you're living apart from your partner, suddenly you don't know when you're going to see each other again, or perhaps all of a sudden you find yourself spending a little bit more time than you had expected with your partner, and perhaps the problems that might throw up. And what about dating as well? Does this mean that you have to rule out the idea of finding your soulmate? Henny, I want to begin with you. They say that distance makes the heart grow fonder. I mean, is that the case? Tell us about your story.
Well, I definitely think that there's definitely good points to it. I know it's a rough situation. Like, I miss my boyfriend a lot, and it does really start to be kind of forced apart. It's not really like a choice where we'd like need to do long distance or one of us is traveling or something like that. It's kind of something that's imposed on us. And that is definitely rough, and there is a lot of stuff that we have to do, like keep up talking and that communication and stuff like that. And we only live like he lives in a couple of suburbs over from me, so it seems very strange. But definitely having that independence away from your partner also, I think, strengthens a relationship, because you go about your daily routine and be like, oh yeah, I'm a person outside of my relationship, which I think actually will probably make the relationship stronger in the end. So
you're not that far away from each other physically, no, of course, but you can't see each other now. You both live in Wellington. How are you managing? You say that you feel that you could get stronger, but what are you doing to manage that gap?
I think it's about as I said before, communication. We always send like good morning texts, good night, and things like seeing how their day is going, like specifically asking those questions to making sure you know what's going on in their life and they know what's going on in yours. Also checking in to see if they're okay, because this is a really horrific time, and I mean everyone's going through it. So you've got to remember, obviously it's your like best friend, your partner, so you want to know how they're feeling. So I feel like it comes a little bit naturally.
All right, I'm just going to bring up a photo now to show everybody, to share, of you and your partner. And I do just want to ask you, hopefully everyone can see that, I do just want to ask you, I mean, have you had any bumps? I mean, all of that sounds overwhelmingly positive, but we're all human.
I think definitely at the start, there's times when you're kind of like, are we communicating enough? And you do freak out a little bit. You're like, well, what does this mean? Are we communicating enough? And I definitely had my freak out of how can we be apart and how is this going to go? But it's only been a week, to be fair, but it has been going well, and I guess you just have to ride it out. But we haven't had any fights or anything. Like, we're not getting angry at each other.
Do you know how long you might have to ride it out for, though? Is there an end in sight?
Well, our government has put in a lockdown period of 4 weeks, and it's been a week, but I would say that that's probably going to be extended. So really it's a bit up in the air.
Hilda, I do want to ask you, when you listen to that, I mean, what do you make of the situation that Henny and so many people actually around the world are going through right now? How do we navigate this unprecedented situation?
Well, it sounds like Henny and I are navigating it pretty well. I mean, I sense a very strong relationship, a very secure bond. And there's this kind of romantic illusion that, oh, if you can't live without each other, you're really in love. Actually, I think the reverse is true. If your relationship has that strength, you're secure in your bond, you don't need to be together the whole time. Of course, it's natural to miss a partner that you love, But I get the sense from Henny that she's secure in that bond. She knows that, she's not feeling that, if he doesn't see me, will he start chatting to other people? Will he be on online sites? There's none of that anxiety. I think that point's really, really strong bond. And what Henny says as well about it could strengthen a relationship. I think that's really important. And it's a point that many couples neglect, nurturing their own interests, keeping their own personal life going aside from their relationship. And again, these are things that people think, if they're so wrapped up in their partner, that means you're so in love. Actually, the fact that we need to get nurture from other sources as well. We need to pursue our passions as well as our relationship, because it puts too much pressure on a relationship if we're looking to it for everything, for all our emotional needs to be fulfilled. So I think Henny's really a good case study of someone who's able to withstand the separation and seeing it as a potentially also positive thing that really points to a strong bond. But of course, people who are maybe in a more early point in the relationship, or else maybe they've been dating for a while, but they're not sure about the future of the relationship and they want it to progress. A time like this apart could feel very anxiety provoking when they're keen to get to that next stage. And they're like, well, this could go on for weeks or months. So if there's an insecurity in the relationship, I think this period apart, not getting the reassurance physically from a partner could lead to more anxiety. So I think it really kind of underlines, I think a time like this, you kind of, whether you see the strength in your relationship or maybe you see some of the insecurities in it.
I sort of wonder though, what are people to do? I mean, who aren't so secure in their relationship? Are we going to go back to sort of writing love letters? What are some of the activities that people could actually do together when they're not together?
I think that's a great idea. Love letters, or even just letters. They don't even need to be, they don't need to be good. Just something connected in the post, something physical as well, I think is really nice. A friend of mine who's in a very long relationship with her partner for years, they did online movie dates. I think there's an app now. They used to cobble together Netflix and Facebook, but there's one called Let's Gaze now. You can watch movies together, so have a feeling that you're watching the same thing at the same time and sharing that experience. So I think, technology in this instance can really help us, to at least see the other person. I think used properly, it can be very supportive during this time when we can't see each other physically.
Serena, you are at the total other end of this spectrum. You're currently joining us from a houseboat where you've moved in with your boyfriend of 2 months. Tell us a little bit about your situation and why you decided to do this. How are you managing?
Well, yeah, I am on a houseboat currently, but I'm still renting my flat, which is nearby. So after all this is done, I will be going back. But for the foreseeable future, it just made sense to stay here with Matthew because we kind of came to crunch time when everyone was being forced to stay inside, and we were early adopters anyway, just because he's immunocompromised and I didn't want to put him at risk. And I can quite easily work from home, so it seemed like the natural move. But yeah, and I think it was the right move, just because if I were to stay at my flat, my other housemate, she's gone to stay with her boyfriend, and so it would have been pretty lonely there if I was just there on my own. I think I would have gone a bit mad, to be honest. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. But yeah, so that's sort of how that decision came about.
In a picture of you and Matthew right now. Sorry, that's the wrong picture. Hopefully I can bring that up. But just tell me a little bit how you are managing. Are there any tips?
Well, yeah, I guess for me it's totally not what I'm used to. I've never lived with a partner before. I've primarily been in long distance relationships just because I have traveled a lot in the past, and I'm from Australia and it's a big old country, so you do get into these situations where you live like 3-5 hours apart sometimes because they're like cities are far apart. But yeah, I guess yeah, this is totally different to what I'm used to, but in a way it is quite nice to be able to have so much time with the person that you care about. And also just getting to know each other. It is a pretty weird way to get to know each other in a new relationship. Like it's not like we're going on holiday together and there's things to break up the day and fun activities to do. It's just, yeah, it's confirmed what I thought about him, that he's a lovely person. And but at the same time, I do find myself, I consider myself a really independent person, and so I do find myself, I need to pull back a little bit and take time for myself, because otherwise I do, you know, I think, I don't know, I do need me time, and it is hard to do that when you're on a boat, and it is a fairly large boat, but yeah, that's
certainly different circumstances. I want to talk about something else that's being completely flipped on its head as well right now, which is dating. I want to bring in two guys who are with us from Brooklyn, Thi Lam and Rance Nix. Now, what they have done is they have started an Instagram account called Love is Quarantine, and essentially it's a dating service for people in their quote unquote pandemic pods. Hopefully we can speak to them now.
How's it going?
Hey guys.
I'm Rance. I'm T.
Hi, nice to see you. Just tell us a little bit about where you got this inspiration from and how is it working out? How does this Instagram account actually work?
Yeah, so how it started out, obviously we watched the TV show Love is Blind pre-pandemic, and then we finished the show, and then we had nothing to do, and then we were forced into lockdown, and we just kind of went crazy in our apartment because we're used to just bouncing around the city all the time in New York, and when you're forced to stay inside, you go a little stir crazy. So I had the thought of, what if we created Love is Blind Quarantine Edition as a joke among like our inner circle of friends, and we shared on our Instagram, and then things started flowing from there.
Yeah, we initially started it as a joke to set up our friends on phone call conversations, our pods being our apartments, being in New York City, where apartments are very small, very tiny.
Very pod-like.
Very pod-like.
Right.
We figured, okay, how about we get people to meet up on these blind dates on telephone calls? We also threw it back, no text messaging, no FaceTime, because we wanted to go old school. We wanted to get people back to talking and back to going deeper, which has actually been pretty successful. People have really gone deep in the conversations on the phones. You know, some people we've connected have talked for hour and a half on their first conversation.
I want to bring up the Instagram page now, actually.
Yeah.
We can just see how it works. Hopefully we can do that.
How it works.
So I can see people's accounts here. So essentially there are videos, and these videos are people after they have been on a date, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So they give their impressions on Instagram of their date. That's so brave.
It is brave, and none of the other contestants can see what they have said about the other person until after the show, because we blocked them from our Instagram account.
Wow. So actually that's pretty risky. I'm wondering, with all that in mind, have you got any love stories that have come out of this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few. T, you want to tell them?
There's a couple, Steve and Katie, #Skatey.
Yeah,
So Katie was on a Zoom call with her entire family, and she invited Steve to be a part of that Zoom call and introduced him to her whole family that night after the date.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, meeting the parents is very nerve-wracking, but they felt ready.
And we also have Brooke and Red, some of our fan favorites as well. Brooke and Red connected over the phone. Red was a little older, so you know we thought we were gonna have a Jessica Mark type situation, but it actually worked out. They hit it off really well, and then at one point, T, you want to tell them about the story?
Oh
that,
man, yeah. So
blew our hearts away.
Yeah, so Brooke and Red, aka #Bread, that was their viral couple name or whatever. So Red was texting Brooke, like, hey, Brooke, like, what's your favorite kind of bread? That's her new hashtag name. She was like, I like pumpernickel bread. And he calls a local Nashville bakery, which is where she lives, and got a loaf of pumpernickel bread delivered to her door from New York City. And it was really sweet, and we got it on video. And yeah.
Sweet gestures. We need things like that right now. Hilda, I want to ask you, do you think we are defining or redefining the way love and relationships are? And do you think perhaps there's the sense, listening to these guys' story, that perhaps people are also looking for a corona boyfriend or girlfriend to help them get
I don't know. I mean, I love this online dating idea. It's different, you know. It's getting away from the physical appearance and presentation. I think it's more real. I like it. But you know, I think that we have to use some caution about, you know, the period that we're in right now. I think it's got a bit of, you know, these wartime romances that kind of lasted during that kind of heightened period when everything was more intense and things were limited. I think, you know, I think it's a great idea, and you know, and it sounds like fun. So even if people, it sounds like people are having fun, and that's the main thing. That it's not like I need to get a boyfriend or girlfriend and find the person. It sounds like the experience is fun, and I think that's really important, because I think where people have disappointing experiences in online dating is, you know, they're waiting to cash in their chips. So they're serving their time, chatting, they just want to get to the end point of securing something, a date, no strings attached, whatever, they just want to get their thing. So I think that particularly this time, you know, we might be doing the talking for a long time. It might be a long time if ever you ever get to meet. So investing too much time and getting fixated on you know, on the point where you will cash in your chips, I think might be a bit futile. But having fun with it, you know, having fun conversations, that all sounds like healthy, because I think, you know, getting hung up on what it'll actually be can be disappointing, because, and particularly in this period when there is that pressure cooker effect and we don't have a lot of other things going on, like our usual social activities, work. So it could become everything, and that's when online dating can become unhealthy, when it kind of takes over everything. We want so much out of it. But you know, if you're having fun, then
And talking about fun, we haven't got much more time. We're going to have to wrap up this conversation pretty soon. But Henny, I do want to ask you, because, you know, to go back to your story, you are waiting to be reunited with your boyfriend. Aside from giving each other a big hug, I mean, I'm wondering, what are you most looking forward to? What are you planning on doing? Give us some hope.
We've been planning a few things actually, because we've got so much time to plan. One of the things we want to do, we've been meaning to do it for honestly years, is just go to this little petting zoo like an hour away from my house called Staglands, and we really want to go, and we've just been hyping it up over text, which is silly, but it's nice.
Absolutely. I think all the everyday things all of a sudden just take on so much more meaning right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank you so much for your time. People, whether you are single or in a relationship, of course, I wish you loads of happiness and above all, health. Everybody, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If you're watching, remember, of course, you can send us your questions for our episode tomorrow. Head over to our Twitter at NBC News. And remember, of course, stay safe, stay at home if you can, and stay connected. See you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, man, I want to